All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Storytelling 101. Hope you guys had a wonderful week. I hope you are getting things out of this class and building really great characters. Today, we are going to be going into conflict, and the way that we're going to go into conflict is by taking all of the characters that we have created so far and put them into three different categories. First category is allies, second category is ops, and third category is ambivalent. When we get to each category, I'm going to explain what each of them mean, but pretty much all of this is going to help you figure out what the character dynamics look like when they are put together. um Today I'm doing something a little differently. Uh I like to construct scripts. I like to record until I feel as if I've gotten it down perfectly. But what I also recognize is it's beneficial when you show the parts of you that are less than perfect. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to speak to you all as I would in the classroom. And in the classroom, I bring all of me. And, sometimes that's going to include stuttering. Sometimes it's going to be me going on a little rant. And for you all, for you all to get something out of this, I'm choosing to believe that me being a full person rather than a rehearsed presenter is going to be beneficial because I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I do have a lot to share. And maybe me showing myself as less than perfect will give you all the confidence to know that you don't have to be perfect to be an effective writer. So, with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with allies. When I put characters in the allies category, I make sure that each person has positive feelings towards the other. So if person A has a relationship with person B, I have to make sure that person B also has a relationship with person A for them to be considered allies. Will there be moments where person A may not feel as strongly about person B as person B feels about person A? Yes. But as long as they have positive feelings towards each other, then they are considered allies. So, to better explain this, we're going to get into Derek. So, Derek has an interesting looking setup. The person at the top of his ally bubble is Lucy, of course. That's his sister. That's his roommate. That's the most important person in the world to him. So, of course, she's going to be at the top. Then we get to Faustino. Faustino is his brother. It's his best friend. Then he gets to Nikki. Nikki, he loves her as if she was his little sister. Then it gets to Trey. Trey is his best friend. Then he goes to Rhonda. Rhonda is his boss, but he loves her. And, she is one of the people in his village. So, of course, he cares about her. Then we get to the people outside of the bubble. Lucy. I'm sorry, Anna. Anna is Lucy's best friend, but Anna gets on his nerves. But he loves Anna, even though she pisses him off all the time. So their relationship is a little complicated, but he loves her. He considers her a friend. So he wants to be there for Anna. He loves Anna. But Anna does the most sometimes. So sometimes that could make their relationship a little complicated. Then there is Nate. He likes Nate. He just may not know if he likes working with Nate. And I feel like people have those situations where it's like, oh, I love you. I think you're great. Like outside of this, I really like you. You're funny. At work, I can't stand you. Kind of like when you go out for drinks with your boss and you guys have like a real conversation. You're like, oh, you're really cool. But then when you get back, you're like, you are the worst person I know. That is kind of the situation that Derek has going on with Nate. He likes him outside of work, but he's not sure if he likes him at work. All right, next we have Lucy. At the top, of course, is Derek. That's her brother. She's there for him no matter what. Then Faustino. She loves Faustino. Faustino feels like family. But Faustino makes her feel a little stressed about herself. But, that's fine because at the end of the day, she loves Faustino and Faustino feels the same way about her. Nikki loves Nikki. That's her girl. She will be there for her no matter what. Anna. Anna's her best friend. She's going to be there for her no matter what. Rhonda. Rhonda is a very important person to her in her life because she took a chance on her and her brother and she looks out for her. So, of course, Rhonda is going to be in her bubble. There's Trey. She loves Trey, but Trey kind of brings out the avoidant version of her brother, and that is kind of tough for her. So, yeah, she loves Trey, but sometimes she's like, maybe he doesn't have to be here all the time. She likes Nate, but Nate can be a little, I don't want to say bratty, but kind of just antagonistic sometimes and a know it all. And so she likes him, but sometimes at work he does the most. So it's complicated. She likes them both and they like her. It's just their relationship is a little complicated. She recognizes their flaws. Beautiful. All right, next we have Nikki. Her circle is a little smaller. Um, Derek. She loves Derek. Derek sees her and she appreciates how he's there, but not in a way that seems invasive. She really likes Trey, even though sometimes his carelessness can be really annoying. She still likes him, and yeah, she really likes she really likes Lucy. Lucy challenges her and treats her like an equal rather than a kid, so she appreciates Lucy. She loves Anna. Anna's her favorite person at the job. Anna does her job and doesn't make her work harder. So it's like, hey, I love Anna. Then Rhonda. Rhonda's family. Rhonda is the only person who knows what's going on with her. And Rhonda is someone she respects and someone who she needs at this very difficult point in her life. And most of all, Rhonda took a chance on her when not many people would. So she loves Rhonda. Next is James. James, if you notice, his circle's a little smaller because there are a lot of people he admires, but they may not feel the same way about him. These are the only three people who it's mutual. And then there are some people who like him, but he may not like them as much as they do. Yeah, we'll talk more about that when we get to ambivalent. Um, all right. Let's start with Trey. Trey is James's favorite person on staff. He thinks he's really cool. They both have respect for one another. Rhonda. Rhonda is the manager. He loves her vision. He loves how she moves and he wants to impress her. Then there's Anna. Anna is like his sister. He may pretend that she embarrasses him, but he loves Anna. Next is Trey. So Trey and at the top of his pentagon is going to be his best friend, Derek, of course, and it goes to Nate. Nate is his new fast friend who they get along with, Nikki. He adores Nikki. Anna, he loves Anna, and even though she could be overbearing sometimes and a little controlling, he loves Anna. He wants her to take a chill pill, but he loves Anna. And James, he thinks James is great. He just needs to stop doing the most. All right, and then Lucy. Lucy is in his outside of the Pentagon. He loves Lucy. Lucy can be a little too overbearing sometimes as well. But, that is his best friend's sister. She's kind, she's loyal. It's just sometimes she can be annoying, so sometimes you gotta distance himself from her just a little bit. Just a little bit. He loves Lucy though. Because if anybody were to mess with Lucy, it would be on sight. So we're gonna go back to Lucy's a little bit. So if you can see, Trey and Lucy, how they view each other as kind of equal. It's like, hey, I really like you. I think you're great. We're not really all that close, but that doesn't mean I don't think you're great. So the cool thing about it, even though they're in the outside of the circle, I mean the not the circle. I guess you could say like the emotional like inner circle or whatever. Since they're both in the same place, that gives them the opportunity to move up the scale. So, this gives you some place to play with their relationship. So if they replace someone on the pentagon of the relationship, so like for example, if Lucy were to get closer with Trey, and if he's having some difficulties with a relationship, say he were to have some difficulties in his relationship with Nate. Not saying that's the plan right now, but who knows? Nate and Lucy might switch. So this, yeah, I think it's fun. This little pentagon. Um, all right. Next we have Hannah. Her inner circle, of course, is going to be one of her best friends, Lucy. And then the reason I'm sighing is because Johnny is like her childhood best friend, but he isn't going to really be in season 1. So, he's not on this inner circle one, but I can't wait until we start getting into side characters because I'm so ready for you guys to learn about Johnny. Because Johnny is very much, I don't want to say he haunts the narrative because he's not in the great in the old there before. He's not. He's just like, oh, Johnny has life issues that's going on, which takes him away from the narrative. But I can't wait for you guys to learn who Johnny is because I think you'll understand Anna better and you'll just, yeah. Let me just stop talking about Johnny. All right. Lucy, that's one of her best friends. Then Nate, that's her new boyfriend. Nikki, she just loves Nikki. She's a hard worker. She's someone she trusts and she respects the kid. Trey, they're polar opposites, but she has mad love for Trey, and Trey is very kind to her. So, yeah. James, that's her brother, and James feels very much the same way about her. Next, well, on the outside of her inner circle is Rhonda. She loves Rhonda, but she feels like Rhonda doesn't see her, which is very difficult for her because she wants to impress Rhonda so badly. But when we get to Rhonda's slide, we'll start to see just the differences in their opinion. Then there's Derek. Derek is her best friend's brother. She likes Derek. Does she feel like Derek feels the same way about her? No. But she really wants Derek to like her. Meanwhile, Derek wants her to stop trying so much. So they both like each other, they both respect each other, they both recognize each other as good humans. But what Derek wants from her and what she's trying to give Derek is very different, which affects their potential bond. All right, next. Next is Nate. And of course, at the top is his new girlfriend, Anna. Anna represents everything that he feels like he's never had, freedom, normalcy, choice. She is just the manifestation of everything he's ever wanted in this life. Yeah. Then next is Trey. Trey is his new best friend. He and Trey both have a thirst for life. They want to experience things. Trey is always He's always coming up with new ideas, keeping life exciting. He likes Trey. Trey's a good dude. And then Derek. If you remember when we had Derek slide, he was on the outside of Derek's inner circle. Meanwhile, Derek, he feels closer to Derek, which is interesting because he does not know that Derek is uncertain of him when it comes to, work. He doesn't see that the way that he moves at the restaurant bothers Derek. That's mainly because Derek is a person to bite his tongue when things bother him. So that's going to add some complexity. There is an opportunity for tension. What happens when Derek is finally sick of his foolishness and explodes? Will Derek explode or will he not? Or what happens whenever Nate comes close to Derek and he's expecting Derek to be on his side about something and Derek may not? What happens then? The possibilities are endless, folks. That's the fun thing about writing tension. The relationship may be unequal because that's what happens in real life. Sometimes you think you're closer to someone than you actually are. All right, next. Next is Faustino. Faustino's circle is kind of small. Derek, that's his brother. They may not be, hanging out or on like one accord the way they used to be, but at the end of the day, that's my brother and I'm going to do anything for him. Lucy, he loves Lucy. Lucy might be a little high strung sometimes, but she is a good person and he cares deeply about Lucy. Does he have to cut her off sometimes? Yeah, but it's not her fault. She just could be scatterbrained and over explains herself, but it's not her fault. And he doesn't think ill of Lucy. He's just like, bro, get to the point. And of course, at the top is Rhonda. They have such a great working relationship because they've been working together for 5 years. So he trusts Rhonda, he supports her, he wants her to do well, and she is a good human being. So of course, he's going to show up for her. Next is Rhonda at the top, Faustino. 5 years. 5 years is a long time when you're working with someone. They know each other well. And if anybody's going to talk to her about what's going on in her head or a problem, she's going to listen to Faustino the most because Faustino knows how she works and what she likes and how things work. So if she's acting up and Faustino's like, bring it back a little bit, oh, okay, maybe I'm doing the most. Next is Derek. Derek, good person. Great person. Good heart, been dealt a bad hand. Anna. Anna is the kid that she doesn't have to worry about. Those parents, whenever, they have that one child that that's good, but may not actually be good, but, they're doing well in school. They seem to be succeeding in all of their opportunities and nothing's wrong, Little did they know little did they know that the kid was not, in fact, okay. That is their relationship. She thinks that she and Anna are good. But in case you've forgotten, Anna feels like Rhonda doesn't see her and like cares more about other people rather than her. So Rhonda thinks that she and Anna are good. Meanwhile, Anna doesn't feel seen by Rhonda. All right, back to Rhonda. All right, Lucy. Lucy and Rhonda, they're good. Rhonda trusts Lucy. Lucy trusts Rhonda. Then Nikki. Nikki loves Rhonda because Rhonda gave her a chance when many people wouldn't. And Rhonda sees so much of Nikki, well, so much of herself in Nikki that she wants to support her. So, like, the feeling is very much mutual. And then James. Okay, she really likes James. She likes that James appreciates presentation. She just feels like James can be a little too emotional sometimes and this isn't even like a be a man kind of thing. It's very much like, sir, can you get back to work and do your job? Because I think it's completely okay that they got these tables in and out. Not everything has to be a whole production. I know you're frustrated that this person didn't spend enough time talking about, I don't know, this person's fashion sense or whatever, but they got the person out in 50 minutes. Meanwhile, the people at your table have been here for 2 hours. Can you just move it along, please? So she likes James. It's just James can do a little too much sometimes. All right, now we go to ops. Ops means we both don't like each other. So of course, at the top of the list, Nikki. Nikki doesn't like James. James doesn't like Nikki. Nikki and James have two different ways of working. Nikki is efficient. She wants to get everybody their things as quickly as possible. She wants to get the answers. I mean, not the answers. She wants to get the orders in. She wants to know what they want. She wants to have their drinks filled before they act. She is efficient. She does a good job. Meanwhile, James, he wants to make everybody feel like they are more than just a number. If they are coming to a restaurant, they want to have a good time. They want to be spoken to. They want to be enticed. They want to be given an opportunity to not only have a meal, but to have an experience. Neither of these approaches are wrong. It's just they don't understand the other person's approach. And when the other person tries to tell them how to work, it does not end well because they're both very strong willed individuals. All right, next. This one I'm actually very excited to write about. I'm very excited to write these two because they used to be really close friends. But the way they saw friendship and what they needed from friendship was very different. So, Faustino likes friendships where he feels like we understand each other on a deeper level. He doesn't like surface level friendships. It feels fake to him. Meanwhile, Trey likes friendships where people are going to experience life with you and, have fun with you and want to spend time with you and all of those things. So Faustino feels like the friendship he had with Trey was fake. Meanwhile, Trey feels abandoned by Faustino because he just decided one day he didn't want anything to do with him. Neither of them are wrong in this situation, but they both are so strong willed in their own ways. Trey is very much like, you don't want to deal with me? Fine, I don't want to deal with you kind of person. Meanwhile, Faustino, he has a clear idea of what things should be in his head. So he's not really open to hearing different perspectives. So, yeah, these two are beefing right now, but they really did care about each other friend wise. All right. Nate and Faustino, I feel like their dislike of each other is a little more straightforward, kind of like Nikki and James. Nate does not like how Faustino is always always just criticizing him every single time he has an opinion. Like, bro, I have a right to an opinion. I have a right to say what I want to say. And I don't care how long you've been doing things the way you do it. If I have something I want to say, I'm going to say it that way. Meanwhile, Faustino is like, bro, you have so many opinions, but many of your opinions come from places of being ill informed. So let me break it down to you in this kind of way. Have you ever had a relationship with someone? And it could be a working relationship, a friendship, or a romantic relationship, stuff like that. Wherever someone always has something to say without hearing the full thing. So you're trying to tell them how you feel, but before you can say your whole thought, they have something they want to say. That's how Faustino sees Nate. Meanwhile, have you ever been around people that whenever you want to say something, they're always quieting you and just telling you, well, this is just the way it's meant to be? Like they don't even want to hear you out. That's how Nate sees Faustino. So they don't like each other. They don't like how the other person moves. So, yeah, it's complex. Next, so these two, I used to have them in ambivalent, but I decided to move them to ops, and this is why. Um, Nikki does not like how he moves. He is strong-willed and he likes to do things his way. Nikki likes to do things by the book. If you tell her this is the way it's supposed to go, so the way it's supposed to go. So she's going to tell him, "I do not like the way you don't listen to the rules." Meanwhile, he's like, stay in a child's place. Very much, why is this 4-year-old talking to me? And like her other character, like Priya's breakout role. I'm 10, you bald. Fill in the line. But anyway, um, this one they are barely ops because it's very much like a I don't want to deal with you kind of thing. They don't dislike each other. They're just like, I don't like how you work. Well, no, that's Nikki. Nikki's like, I don't like how you work. And Nate is like, why is this child trying to tell me what to do? So this relationship is non existent, but when they encounter each other, it's as time goes on, though, they will start to have a better relationship. That's why I had them in ambivalent, but at the beginning, they're kind of ops. Like these two, they're interesting. They don't dislike each other, but the way that they work is very different. So they kind of steer clear of each other, but as time goes on, they learn to respect one another. So they're ambivalent ops. It's yeah, I'm just gonna keep them in the ops section. Next is ambivalent. So when I'm talking, let me go back to the ambivalent slide. When I'm talking about ambivalent, um, what who I put in this category is just it's either they have no relationship, like no beef, like no positive feelings, no negative feelings, or one person has positive feelings towards the other, while the other may think that this person is annoying or scum of the earth, or so like if the relationship is unequal and not even in a like one person has to have negative feelings towards the other, or they both can just have no feelings towards each other. Yeah, let's get into it. So now let's start with Derek and James. Derek doesn't really care for James. He doesn't think he's a bad kid. It's just this kid cares a lot about his image. It's like he's always trying to prove himself to people, and he's not trying the life that he wants and the life that he thinks is so impressive. James doesn't care at all about, because James recognizes that relationships are the things that matter. He cares about his family, cares about his sister, his brother. He cared about his parents before they were taken from him. He cares about community. He cares about friendship. Like, that's the most important thing to him. Meanwhile, James is always talking about accolades that he's had or people that he's experienced or opportunities he's going to have. And it's just, he doesn't care about any of it. And, it makes it hard to be around him because he's like, bro, I don't care about this stuff. So Derek, he really thinks that, no, James thinks that Derek is amazing, and he really wants to like get him to approve of him. Meanwhile, all of the things that he's using to get Derek to approve of him, Derek doesn't care about. So this could be a little difficult whenever Derek, who isn't really a confrontational person, he's like really laid back, whenever he gets cornered by James. So there's going to be moments where he's not going to want to be around James because James is just going to start talking about opera and all these opportunities or these new clothes or these new people he's met or all of these things that James just doesn't care about. All right, next. Um this one is interesting because James doesn't think ill. He doesn't think ill of Lucy. He just prefers her brother because there are some people out there who think that certain relationships are more valuable. He sees getting Derek to like him as more important than getting Lucy to like him because he sees socially that his brother is a little more preferred. Derek is that cool guy, laid back kind of person. And, he doesn't want, he would much rather James like him than Lucy. But Lucy sees that he's an outcast and she wants to look out for him. This can get really dicey for the two of them because James taking Lucy's support for granted has the potential to get Lucy to lose respect for him. So, he's taking advantage of their relationship, not even taking advantage, he just takes her support for granted. And eventually that support could very well be lost if he doesn't give her something in return. And not even in he better support me or this needs to be equal. It doesn't feel good being there for someone who constantly shows you that you're not as important to them as they are to you. And that is some potential conflict that can come up in the future. All right, next. He thinks Nikki's a good kid. He's an observer. He thinks she's a good kid. She works hard. He doesn't have any problems with Nikki. Nikki doesn't have any feelings towards Faustino. He does his job. That's it. They don't really talk all that much, which is fine with both of them. They're neutral towards each other. So, yeah, that's it. So the relationship can go in a negative direction or it can go in a positive direction. It just really depends on what happens in the story and where they are mentally. All right, so James likes Faustino and he wants to get to know him because Faustino is smart, he's fashionable, he's quiet, he's cool. Like, he has that really interesting aesthetic that James thinks is so cool. So he will try to reach out to Faustino and get to know him. Meanwhile, Faustino finds it irritating. This kid talks way too much. And, he talks about things that we don't care about. Meanwhile, he's not giving other people an opportunity to talk about themselves. It's like me, 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 me. And he doesn't like it. He doesn't like how self centered and self involved this kid is. So this one, like the thoughts are way different. Derek doesn't think that James is a bad person, but James does the absolute most, and it's just like, ugh. Faustino does not like James. So James likes Faustino. Faustino doesn't like James. There's potential in this because there could be a moment where James is being told that by Faustino that he doesn't like him, or James will try to reach out to Faustino and Faustino will shut him down, or Faustino might blindside him by telling him that no, I don't like you. And there may even be a moment in he might be arguing with Nikki, who Faustino approves of. And then Faustino may tell him, no, Nikki's right and you're annoying, or something like that. But potential. All right, next we have Anna and Faustino. Anna thinks that Faustino doesn't like her because Faustino doesn't talk too much, which is a common misconception. Sometimes people think that introverts are stuck up. No, they just don't talk. Meanwhile, Faustino respects her. He likes her and her work ethic. She's a nice person and she works hard. Yeah. So this can get complicated because, in case you have forgotten, Faustino does not get along with Trey. Meanwhile, Trey and Anna like each other, like they're friends. So if Trey and Faustino were to have an argument and people were to take sides, Anna could very well take Trey's side, thinking that Faustino doesn't like her either. Meanwhile, Faustino likes her. So, yeah. How many times have you guys had a moment where you think that someone doesn't like you at all? Meanwhile, you sit back and then all of a sudden this person is talking about you as if you are the second coming. And you're like, I didn't know you felt this way about me. They're just quiet and they don't talk much about how they feel about you. That is very much Faustino's vibe with Anna. All right. So he likes Nate. When he finds out that Nate came from a privileged background, has good taste, has an interesting life in his eyes, he thinks that he is so cool. Tell me all about that wealthy life that you had. I want to hear all about it. Meanwhile, he's bothered by James, his ideation of his life. It's just like, oh, you don't know anything about my life, but you just assume that my life is just great. You think it's great. But you're telling me how lucky I am, but little did you know that my life wasn't perfect. So yeah, he may not want to be around James either, because how tough is it to have a life that you don't think is perfect, but all they want to do is talk about how lucky you are in your life. Meanwhile, your life wasn't perfect. After a while, it gets annoying. And that's what their relationship is like. All right, now let's get into Nate. Nate thinks that Rhonda's a great manager. He just doesn't like that Rhonda tells him what to do, which makes no sense. But you know those people that have a job, but they don't want anybody to tell them what to do? That is what Nate is giving, and it's like, bro, why are you here? So Rhonda, all right. She has compassion for Nate. She recognizes Nate's ability. She recognizes how smart he is and what he can bring to the table. But she knows that she needs to crush him a little bit. Because I need for you to remember who's in charge here. Not even in a bad way. It's just like, sir, you're doing the most. I know you have potential to be here, but I need for you to remember who's in charge and who's been in this line of work for 5 years. So stop it. All right, this one I'm also looking forward to writing because Trey thinks that Rhonda hates him because she's hard on him, but she wants to push him to be the best version of himself because she thinks that he is incredible. He's smart, he's talented, he has so many hidden abilities. He is the person on staff that can fill in any position. He's gifted, he's intelligent, but he's spending all of his life just trying to chase vibes, and she's like, "No, you are wasting your life. You're amazing. Stop it." That is what she is hard on him because she wants to wake him up. Sir, you are incredible. Do you know that? Why are you wasting your life on vibes? So he thinks that she's just targeting him when she's like, "No, I want you to be incredible because you are." Which is complicated. Now, this section I like to call it This is Messy. The reason why is because they all have different relationships to each other. So, one person may have a relationship with two people who may dislike each other. One person may have a relationship with one person who likes another person, and they may know that this person doesn't like the other person. So, yeah, this is messy. So, um, what I'm going to do in this section is I'm going to list out examples and then I'm going to write a sample scenario. So, how could this play out in the action? Will this show up in the scripts that we will be writing in the future? Maybe, maybe not. But just to give you guys an idea of how the messiness of these relationships can affect how they move with one another. Let's just get started and I'll show you. All right, Derek's relationships. His closest friends, Faustino and Trey, are not getting along. And then Anna, his sister's best friend, is irritating him as of late. If you guys remember, Anna is trying to get Derek to like him by helping him out. Derek does not like how she helps him. He doesn't like it at all. He finds it overbearing and a little annoying. So, the sample scenario, I am going to talk about the relationship with Anna. Okay, sample scenario. Anna, his sister's best friend, is irritating as of late. So, he delivers drinks to a table for Nikki. When he returns, he sees Anna behind the bar collecting the ingredients into groups. He asks her what she's doing, and she said grouping ingredients for the drink she wants to order. So, let's pause here. Anna is like, "Oh, he has to make an old fashioned and a margarita. Let me pull all of these drinks and put them into groups. So when he comes back, he can just take all of these things together and then make the drinks equally." But when Derek comes back, he's like, "You messed up my workstation. That's not, I can just, it's easier for me to move to where it is, take the ounces of alcohol, put the correct stuff, put it back where it belongs. Why are you moving things around and taking all these ingredients and putting them into groups when you can just give me the order and I'll do it myself?" So Derek is in disbelief when he looks at his disorganized station. He smiles at her, a strained smile, because again, if you remember, Derek is a laid back person. He's not going to be confrontational unless he has to be. He tells her that he didn't need her to do that. She's unaware and she says no problem. So she thinks when he says you didn't have to do that as like an appreciative, you didn't have to do that, as in like I would have preferred if you didn't do that. And then she leaves the ticket and walks away. and he takes slow, calming breaths as he puts things back in their proper place. So Anna is trying to help him, but by the way she's helping him, she's not helping him. She's making things harder. How many of you have ever been around people who have tried to help you, but the way that they help isn't helpful? That is a situation that could arise with Derek and Anna. All right, let's go on to Lucy. This is going to be like our last sample scenario because these are just purely examples. All right, Lucy's relationships. Two co-workers she cares about, Nikki and James, do not like each other. Faustino and Trey are beefing. She cares about both of them. Nate and Faustino don't like one another. That's her friend and her best friend's boyfriend. And then her brother and Faustino aren't too crazy about James. So she loves them both, but she's trying to look out for James. Those are complicated relationships. What I'm going to look into now is her bond with Nikki and James. So she's trying to look out for James, but she loves Nikki. And they do not like each other. So James tends to one table, and another one of his tables complains to Nikki about their lack of appetizers. So James is off doing his James thing at one table, and Nikki walks past one of the tables. And you know how when you're at a restaurant and you haven't seen your waiter or waitress for a long time, you might flag anyone down? Well, they flag down Nikki. And she rushes to the window to get their appetizers because she just wants to make sure that they get their food. So she rushes over there, gets their appetizers, brings it back. And, they get their food, and then she goes off and does her thing. Well, doesn't think anything of it. James comes back to the table and sees the people eating, and they're happy. And then James is like, "Oh, it's all good." Yeah, James smiles at them with a winning smile, but he doesn't say anything bad about Nikki. He's going to be like, "Oh, so how'd you get your food?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, the young lady over there, she brought us our meal. It's all good." He thinks she oversteps. So he's going to go look for Nikki, and Lucy sees he is frustrated because that's his emotional support coworker. So she's going to go after him, and she tries to get him to calm down. But when he finds Nikki and she's getting a check, James is going to be like, "Nikki, stay out of my section." And Nikki's going to be like, "Do you want me to just tell them to wait for you as you continuously blab and blab and blab about opera or fashion or theater or any of the things that you're obsessed with? Do you want for me to just tell them that I can't help him?" And Lucy tells them to calm down because they're both getting really annoyed with one another. Um, he tells her, "If anybody needs me, come and find me." And then she says, "You know what? Sure, that's fine. I won't help you anymore." And Nikki, it's very much like I'm done with you and I'm done with this conversation. James is annoyed, so they both go off in opposite directions. Meanwhile, James continues to complain about Nikki to Lucy. Lucy's very much trying to get them to get along and to calm down. Meanwhile, both of them, they're sick of one another, which could add a lot of stress to Nikki because she cares about both of them. Now let's go to homework. For this homework, we are going to break down character dynamics in your stories into allies, ops, and ambivalent. So you know your characters. You could also do that with side characters as well. How do they feel about one another? Do they both have a good relationship with one another? Does one really not know how he feels about the other one? Do they both dislike each other? Write about that. Then write sample scenarios between characters. What would their relationships and how they see one another and how they move, how does that affect how they interact with one another? Then also write out how that affects the people they are in relationship with. If one character has two best friends that hate each other, write a situation about how that person would react to them beefing. This doesn't have to be perfect. As a perfectionist myself, sometimes I can be really hard on myself. when trying to figure out, you know, how to write a situation, just write it down. Doesn't have to be perfect. If it feels if it doesn't feel authentic between the two of them, then go back to who they are, like Enneagram wise, go back and understand who they are. If who they are as individuals doesn't really clash the way you think, then adjust who they are from the beginning so it'll be better for you to write who they are. That's a whole lot of words. But you know what I mean. So this doesn't have to be perfect. This is a jumping off spot. So if don't try to force your characters to be who you want them to be in the story. If the story doesn't work that way, either change who they are personality wise. And I'm talking about like before you start writing anything, because once you get into the story, don't start changing their personalities. You can only have them evolve into a better or worse version of themselves. But so for example, if I want a character to be quiet and observant, then I will most likely give that whatever action that is to Faustino because he's quiet and observant. But if we were to have Faustino suddenly be the outspoken control freak, that wouldn't work. So when I say you can change who your characters are, you can change them now before you start writing them in the story. I hope you understand. If you don't, please comment below and I will rephrase it. Then next I said think, imagine, don't quit. One of the hardest things about writing, in my opinion, is not quitting. It's just because writing is hard. Writing is hard because of how long it takes, how many ideas you throw at the wall until one sticks. Your first draft will never be your final draft. But when I say don't quit, you can come up with something pretty freaking special that can mean the world to someone. So if you have a story in your heart, don't quit. Think, imagine, and don't quit. So that's your homework. I will see you next week. I hope you guys are open to the new way that I am presenting myself. Because as much as I want to be excellent and without mistakes, that is first, as a teacher, I don't want to be the type of person that only presents my shiny self. So sometimes I'm going to stutter when I'm talking, or sometimes I might speak so quickly or lose my train of thought or something like that. But I don't. This week, I'm trying not to show you all of my polished sides, to show you that you can be very well human and write and deliver something. So I hope you all like this week. I hope you enjoy your homework. And again, we're at the honor code. So if you want to do it, it's up to you, my dear. But I will see you all next week. And next week we are going to get into side characters. Take care. Bye.